Alright, so for this video, I'm going to go over the last part of Chapter 2. And I'm going to use the homeworks to kind of show how to do some of these graphs and talk about issues with graphs. So if I go to 2.3, let's see here. Because I already did one question, I'm going to redo that one. I think it's question 2. And some of these may be easier for you to build on hand, paper, sorry, or build using technology, because you're still going to kind of do these two graphs by hand, but I'm just going to do it with technology so you can kind of see how I would do these kind of graphs. Alright, so here it wants me to create a dot plot. So like I said in the week 2 announcement, here's my data. So we created a horizontal axis with the numbers. So you can see all the axes are the same. The key is where the dots go. So you could actually solve this problem by looking at the graphs and see which ones are correct or not. But I want to show you how a dot plot works as well. So I'm going to build it real quick. So I'm going to open in Excel, because StatCrunch doesn't have a dot plot built in to automatically graph it. So I'll open this in Excel. And we'll shrink this down so we can kind of see what's going on here. And I'm going to kind of build the same thing they did. So I got a 50, and they don't have a mark, but I'm going to mark my 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. I have to make this a little bit bigger. Still see our data. Alright. So all you have to do is in a dot plot is, let's insert, I want to insert a shape. And like for you all, honestly, this would probably be easier just to do on paper because it's a small data set. But I wanted to just kind of show you a video of me doing it, and this is probably the easiest way. So this is the shape I want to insert. Make that a little more than one, but that's right. Alright. I'm going to use this first guy. So my first point is at 70. Actually, no, we'll be quicker than doing this, so we can save time and delete all these things. We're just going to color them as boxes, and you can just see their dots. My computer is definitely running slow. Since everything is on the graph, it won't be so bad. So 70, we'll color these things. I have a 70, I have a 75, I have a 75, I have another 70, I have a 50, 70, 75, 80, 65, and 85, another 70, 65, and 80, and a 65. Right? So you can see we have an outlier out here. If we got more data points, this thing might start to look normally distributed. It somewhat is here, kind of nice down, but over here it's got a gap. So either this guy's an outlier or we're missing some of the data points. But remember, those are supposed to be dots, but to save a little ease, those will all be dots where the all boxes are. So you can see these first two answers don't have a 50. This one does. You can see here he has a higher 80 where our 80 is smaller. This one has a higher 70, so it has to be D. Yes, there appears to be a because it's from the other volumes, like we just talked about the 50. There you go. So let me close that Excel. Don't save. And if we go to question 2, now we're going to build a stem plot. So this one doesn't have a data set. I guess I should have left Excel open so we can kind of see how to do this. Let me open Excel now. If it doesn't have the little blue box, then you have to just open up. But it's a small data set, so I'll just type it real quick so we can kind of see. All right, so we have a, remember, we're in the first column, we're going to put our tens, and if we had hundreds, we could put them in there, and this is going to be our ones values, right? So our lowest value is a 68, so that means my 10 is a 60, and my ones is an 8. Right, and so if you want, we can, I'm going to zoom this out because it closes all my boxes. I'm going to shrink it. I want this guy over here. There we go. All right. And then I have a 70, and I have a 72, and a 75, and I have an 8. I have an 85. I have an 87, and then 289, so I put 2 9s. I have a 90, so I put a 0, and then I have a 99, a 99, so I'll put 1 9. And then I have a 100, so I'll put a 10 here and a 0 here. So I don't know why I just copied my thing. There we go. So how you read this is 68, 72, 75, 85, 87, 89, 89, 90, 99, and a 100. So now we can compare our answers here. And you can see we have 8, 8, 5, 7, 9, 9, 5. And see, they did not do them in order, which is a big deal. Not really a big deal because it's still, but you should have them in order. But this one's still not right because it has a 7 here. And we don't have a 7 in our 9s. We have a 9, so our answer is A. So how does the stem plot show the distribution of our data? So it's definitely, let's see, I read these carefully because they sometimes just change one word. Yeah, see there it is, heights and widths of a bar. They show the heights. They show how tall. So this, if we turn our Excel here sideways, make this our horizontal axis, this vertical, this bar would be higher. That's why I like to align mine to the left instead of what Excel doing my 0 here. There we go. And you can kind of see if you turn this, it's kind of bell-shaped, right? So here's my peak, my low end, my high end. So a couple more problems in this homework like this. What was question 6? I think I was going to talk about that one as well. Working from home, sometimes my internet is slow. Okay, yeah, so I want to do a similar question. All right, so here's a graph. So this question's about a little bit where I talked about the blog of reading through the chapter of how graphs can be deceiving, right? Even if you don't mean for them to be. So if we look at this graph, this is comparing teaching salaries of men to women, right? And if you first look at this graph, it looks like men get paid twice as much as women, right? Because it looks twice as big as this one. So what's wrong with this graph? What impression do we get from the graph? The graph is men's salaries are twice as more as women. It's almost twice as big. However, it is not fair, right? Because if you start to look at the actual salaries, women look to make about $58,000. Men look to make about $65,000. So still, I'll get into the social aspects of it, but there is a discrepancy in pay here. But it's not twice as much. It's only $7,000 off. right? So this graph makes it look like men make twice as much as women, when in reality they make approximately 7,000 according to the graph. So the issue is we didn't start at 0, so we don't see that these bars come way down here to show they're almost the same size. That is the issue with this graph, when you don't start at 0. And sometimes it's okay, but you got to be honest with people and let them know that up front. And then so the better way would be to start at 0, right? So here again, women all make just under 60,000, men make just over, kind of like what we did here. But now it doesn't look as deceiving as this one. So this would be a better graph. So go look over 2.3. It talks about different things. The big takeaway from that is after you get out of this class, is like I said, most of you won't be statisticians. So it'll be key that you can use this to understand when you're reading reports or things in your career that sometimes people try to mislead you. All right, so we can close out that, leave. And then I want to go to 2.4 now. And we're going to do a couple questions in this homework. And the reason I do this is not to give you the answers to the homework, but since we're not allowed to be in the classroom, I want to show you, these would be kind of examples if we were inside of a classroom. So we're going to do a couple of homeworks. Yours will be a little bit different, and you still have your quizzes. So here we got to construct a scatter plot, right? So the easiest way to construct a scatter plot is open with either StatCrunch or Excel. So this one I'm going to do in StatCrunch, and then the next one I'll do using Excel. And if you look at week 1 answers, Excel file, I have one built in there. Oops, I shouldn't have clicked on. There we go. So in StatCrunch, if I click on Graph, and I come down here to Scatter Plot, right? And I come back over here, close this. We're comparing countries' presidents to their main opponents' heights, right? So it doesn't really tell you in the description which one they want to be what axis, but if you look at all the answers, they all say president's heights, so I know that is my X, and my opponents is my Y. This is where you can be all colorful and create different things and make your things pretty. You can do a lot with StatCrunch. I'm just going to go with the generic feel for it for now. And I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can kind of easily see, right? So kind of all over the place. It is slowly increasing, but definitely not like answers B and C. So now we got to look at A and B and see what the difference is. Well, you see there's 2 points lined up here and 1 off to the left. 2 points over here and 1 off to the left. This only has 1 point, so therefore you gotta be careful with the homework sometimes. You'll get an answer that's close. You gotta really kind of look for those small differences. Now looking at this, there is kind of an increase, but it's definitely not, looks like there's a linear correlation, right? Because we're kind of all over the place versus these two, which have a linear correlation. So no, there does not appear to be a linear correlation. I always like to close out my files every time I go to the next question, because sometimes if you don't, it doesn't work real well. So this one I want to open in Excel, so you can see how to do them in both StatCrunch and Excel. And if you get comfortable with StatCrunch, it definitely becomes a lot easier. Excel is not too bad. If you just highlight the data, and you go into Charts, and then I'm on a Mac, so my Excel looks a little different, but yours would be you can either go Insert, or if it doesn't have charts, but I want to do a scatter. I don't want to connect the dots. And so there is my thing. Now you can go in here and kind of label things, right? Because it says highway is this, which means it's the y-axis. But if you click on these things in format, and there we go, chart layout, sorry. You can go to access titles, and I'm going to give my title below the axis, and this is my weight in pounds, and then I want to add another title to my vertical, and I don't know if I clicked in there. There we go. And this is my highway MPG. There, go back and delete all this other stuff that's in there. as you play with Excel, it becomes a little easier. I prefer Excel over StatCrunch just because after this course, some of you will use Excel more than StatCrunch. However, StatCrunch, if you're really learning statistics and you're not comfortable with Excel yet, maybe StatCrunch is the best to use for now. Now that I've labeled mine, I don't need that there. So you can see we started at 0, which is where we should start. Excel did default to that. If you don't want to change, you can change it if you want to, but again, you gotta be careful with this, things that deceive. Don't save my stem plot. So you can see I have this downward trend. Well, this is they started at 2000. So if I come and look here, that looks just like that. Oh, I didn't click similar question. Oh well. And because it is going down, there is as weight increases, right? So weight's going up, my MPG is going down. And if we think about that, it makes sense. The heavier a car is, the less it's probably going to get from miles per gallon. So there's how you use either Excel or StatCrunch to create a scatter plot. Let's see, there's one question I want to talk about. The very next question. So I'll click similar, because I want to get this one wrong so you can get a little picture from the book. But, so from a data set of brain volumes, there's 7 males. So that is our sample size, right? We don't see the data, but we know it's 7. So if you open up this tables of criticals R, you come here to 7, my critical R value is 7.54. So 0.754. However, you can have a left and right value. So therefore, I have to also type in negative 0.754. And then separate them by commas, it says. And use commas to separate values. So there is my critical values. So my coefficient is, so I'm going to get it wrong, but you can, if I go from negative 0.7 to positive 0.7, 0.6 is between, right? So I'm going to say there is. This is going to be wrong, but I want to because it brings up this chart. So how you look for correlation, your critical value becomes your lower limit, that's why we need a negative number, and your upper limit is your positive. If your value is in between those, there is no correlation. If your value is in the tails, then there is a correlation. So the reason I got this wrong is I said there is a sufficient answer to this correlation, but I shouldn't have because we said it's in between. So I come back here and it is not. And that graph is in your book. Let's see if I can quickly find the page. It's in 2.4 on page 71. So on page 71, it talks about this. I can check answer. All right, good. All right, so leave. So this is the kind of the finish out chapter 2. It's just other types of graphs. So here's a little video for some of the homework assignments and stuff to do. I will create another video here for some of the homework in chapter 3. I'm going to try to keep the videos small so I can post them on our course page. If not, if they're too large, I'll post them on my YouTube channel. Please email if you have any questions.